Our next guest says there's still plenty of room for new players to get into the market. Joining us now, Mercedes Bent, partner at Lightspeed Venture Partners. Mercedes, good to see you. Thanks so much for joining us. You've been monitoring this extraordinary growth in retail investor account openings and which apps and platforms they're using. Do we have a sense of what percentage of the population that relates to, and whether we're just at the start of new entrants into the market?
I certainly think that, at least when we consider the younger generations, millennials, Gen Z, that they're still heavily underinvested compared to older generations. If you look at the percentage of household equity and mutual funds held by millennials, it's just 3% of the total 39 trillion. And if you think also about millennials who in 2019, only about 40 to 50% of millennials even had equity investment. And so I think there's still a long ways to go as millennials come into the market and decide where they're going to spend or invest their money.
Presumably, Mercedes, if people have only recently entered the market, they're probably sitting on gains. They haven't been through a bear market period. Is that a warning sign? Will it might perhaps lead to bigger sell-offs once they start experiencing losses for the first time? Or is that just a bit of a theory that doesn't play out?
I do think that you have to remember millennials did come of age, the older set of millennials, during the last recession. I myself was working very briefly for the Fed in 2009 and then saw how much the financial recession had effects on millennials. And a lot of them, in some ways, there's this tale of two millennials. There's the millennials on the one end who hold their money in cash and who are afraid to invest in the stock market because they have had that experience. And then the other side of the millennials that you hear about more today are the Robinhood traders who are chasing a thrill and just spending money and so excited about the highs that they're seeing. I think that both of these characterizations are a bit of stereotypes in some ways, but I do think that no matter how the markets go, because there will be a downturn, there always is, that millennials are still going to choose to invest somewhere. You know, when you look at equity participation over the last couple of decades, it's relatively stable, plus or minus 7%. So even if people pull back on their trading volume or pull back a bit of their wallet share, they're not going to completely abandon these platforms.
So which companies should we watch? We all use Robinhood as sort of a reference point for all of retail trading right now because it's so hot. But where else are you guys investing?
So I think the next generation of investment products really need to think about the expectations of millennials and Gen Z for what they use has really been heightened. They're now thinking about user experience. And so instead of competing on price like they might have several years ago, they're now competing on user experience. And so the new crop of products we're seeing are competing more on social and community experiences. Companies like Public, who are essentially, you have a Twitter or Facebook feed in your platform where it's all about investing. They're also focusing more on membership and perks. How do you give users that sense of feeling that they belong and that they're more than just a number in the system? So companies like Stock Perks and Griffin are giving users that feeling. And then you also we're starting to see more products that are tapping into the desire to put your money where you know something about the companies, where there's commerce and where you know something about the products. And so we're seeing alternative sites like Otis and VinoVest, and even our portfolio company at Lightspeed, Roofstock, as a product called One, where you can do fractional investing in investment properties. And so we're seeing that brands are really now having to think too about how do they tap into this investment mindset. And the one other thing I would say too is this isn't just the US, this is really global. We're seeing the Robinhoods of Europe, like Trade Republic, the Robinhoods of LATAM, like Flink, really start to grow as well.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.